Welcome to another episode of Magical Moves, the show talking all about moving to Orlando and the Central Florida area. My name is Jason Diffendahl. I'm your host. Here's my co-host, Eric Gross of MagicalMoves.com.
Thanks for having me, Jason.
Sure. Welcome back. So today, in today's show, we're going to talk about another pretty common place that people seem to want to move to, and that is Davenport.
Yep. So I've been doing real estate for over 7 years now, and the number one area that I think people move to when they're looking for more affordability is Davenport.
Yeah. So Davenport, I mean, the last couple episodes we've talked about Windermere and Winter Garden and Hamlin, and Davenport is certainly lower priced than those areas. So let's switch over to our map. We're going to sort of orient ourselves here. So there's Orlando, and we're gonna go a little southwest down towards Tampa. You can see there's Disney World, the Magic Kingdom. You can see us down here in Celebration at the WWNT studio, and then Davenport is a couple exits further west on I-4. And so
right there at the bottom.
At the bottom, yeah. So we've got, I mean, now technically, like Champions Gate is Davenport zip code, right?
Yep, you got the point I was going to make. Where you see Davenport on the map is kind of the old city of Davenport, founded way, way earlier than when Disney came here. But due to sprawl and expansion, the majority of people that live in Davenport are going to be right at that crux of Highway 27 and I-4, so a little south of Champions Gate.
Yeah, yeah. So that's just a couple exits down I-4 from us here in Celebration. And we will talk about a lot of the places. So Champions Gate, if you've been looking at real estate, Champions Gate is a pretty big it's a pretty big place. It's a planned community, right?
Mm-hmm. Champions Gate, yep.
And then Reunion is sort of an adjacent community.
Yeah, that was really designed to be that was designed for vacation rentals and short-term rentals.
Okay. So you don't have a lot of people moving to Reunion.
I have a lot of people that consider it when they're looking and initially kind of just scoping out areas, but I've had maybe one or two people move to the actual Reunion neighborhood.
Okay. So whenever somebody talks to me about Davenport or Champions Gate or Reunion, the first thing that comes to my mind is the traffic disaster that is I-4.
Yeah.
I'm gonna switch our map here to the traffic view because I think it's very telling. When you look at 429, that's the Daniel Webster Western Beltway.
Which I've never heard anyone call it that. I've never. It's actually, it sounds foreign when you say that right now because everyone calls it 429.
Yes. Yep. It's the Daniel Webster Western Beltway according to the sign when you drive on it. But that's a toll road. That's the quickest and easiest way to sort of get from Winter Garden and Hamlin area down to Champions Gate and Davenport.
Yeah, there are some back roads you can take if you live in the Davenport area. I lived pretty close to here for about 3 years, and a lot of routes I would take would go either through Champions Gate or that were right under 192, and you just kind of scope or just kind of move from Highway 27 over to 429, pretty much whatever road you can take. So you don't always have to take 192 or I-4 because there is a little bit higher traffic there usually. But yeah, traffic is an issue there.
Yeah. So I will say when I travel home from the studio, there's always traffic on I-4 westbound in the afternoon rush hour heading towards Tampa is always almost a standstill. Mm-hmm. And it's not until you really get past the 27 exit that it lightens up. Mm-hmm. Because this is such a densely populated area here, this little stretch essentially a stretch between 429 and 27 is a very densely populated area. And so let's talk about, but I mean, obviously there's traffic everywhere, right? Like, look, there's traffic on I-4 here, right around Disney World too, and so I mean, this is in the middle of the afternoon, so there can be traffic anywhere. But so depending on if you don't have to commute, if you work from home or whatever,
then you're golden.
You don't have to worry about traffic. It's only really if you have to commute that it's a problem.
And you can still make it to Disney in under 25 minutes from Davenport area too.
You can, right, as long as you time it right.
If you're working at Disney, you can take back roads to the parks.
Yeah, so I mean, there's options. I wouldn't, like, I didn't let traffic deter me from looking at places in Champions Gate. I think there were just other things that deterred me from looking in Champions Gate, and a lot of it was the density, honestly. Like, the houses are almost on top of each other. And so we kind of wanted something that had a little more space because we have like I said, we have dogs and wanted a little bit of a yard for them to run around in and stuff like that. But
yeah, the epicenter of Davenport is really that I-427 exchange right there, that Posner Park. And that's where you've got pretty much everything for your day-to-day living. You've got a Target, you've got a JCPenney's, you've got BJ's. You've got pretty much any restaurant you can think of is right there.
Yes.
So that really supports the whole Davenport area, which is all along 27. So it's kind of weird in the sense that it doesn't feel like a town with like a grid system. It's more of Highway 27. You're either on the north side or the south side, and you just take that to get everywhere you need to go, pretty much.
Right. Yep. So you've got this whole section here is all development on 27, and I've gone down to Davenport to the Posner Park, and there's just like, this is all shopping center. It's insane.
It's really just been built up over the past 10 years. It's really amazing to see.
Yes. There's Theme World RV Community there on the map. I think that's one of the older developments.
Theme World RV Community. That was probably there, 40, 50 years ago.
Right, exactly.
And that Home Run Boulevard, that was actually a nod to what this area used to be 20 or 30 years ago. There was I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but there was either a Baseball Hall of Fame or some baseball spring training
There's
field.
A lot of spring training down here. Yes.
Yep. So that's why that's called Home Run Boulevard.
That makes sense. And I don't know who Ernie Caldwell is, but there's a road named after him too.
Yep.
But yeah, so I mean, in terms of what everyday sort of shopping and dining and stuff, there's plenty in Davenport that you don't have to sort of venture.
Yeah, you really don't have to leave unless you need to for work or to go to the parks. That's it. You have everything you need there. But I'd say, people move to this area. A lot of my buyers, if they're looking, a little bit on the north side towards Clermont or Hamlin or Winter Garden, and that seems a little out of their price point, we usually end up moving a little bit south towards Davenport.
Yep. Yeah, and so 27 takes you all the way up to the Four Corners area, which is where it runs into 192, and that's technically Clermont.
So it's called Four Corners because it runs into four different counties right there.
Yep. You've got Orange, Osceola, Lake and Polk.
Yep.
So Clermont's in Lake County, so that's kind of the northwest on the map here. Polk is southwest, and then Orange is northeast, and Osceola is southeast.
Very good. Yeah, A+.
But yeah, so that's Four Corners is technically Clermont. So somewhere in here on this stretch of 27, there's a dividing line between Davenport and Clermont.
And it is the 192.
Is it?
Yep.
Okay. So and I've driven that stretch of 27. Like, actually, that's one of the ways, if I'm coming back from Tampa and 4 is very trafficy, I will get off at 27 and take it north because I've got to go north anyway. to get to my place. So I've driven that stretch of 27 a couple times. There's a lot of stuff to do there.
It's really pretty if you go north on 27, north of 192. Once you pass probably where it says on the map, I've got like a pop-up on my screen, but that Water Park Orlando right there, if you're north of that on 27, it can be a really pretty drive.
Yes.
You've got Lake Louisa over here on the right and the top of the screen.
Yep.
And that's a huge lake, really pretty trails up there. There's an old, I can't remember the name of the family, Southern Hills Farms, which is right across from Lake Louisa. That's really pretty. So there's just a lot to do if you wanted to be Davenport adjacent, or just kind of see what there is out there.
Maybe we should just talk about Clermont on our next episode.
Yeah, we could do that.
Because that's right there.
I've lived everywhere in Orlando, so if you spit out a city, I'll tell you about it.
Now, one of the other things that sort of turned me off a little bit on Davenport Champions Gate area is, as you said, the vacation homes.
Yeah.
Right? So there's a lot of vacation homes in that area. And I mean, most of them, there's a lot of gated communities, and most of these vacation homes are in gated communities. But the issue is, do you want to live in a community where your neighbors may very well be a different family every week?
Right, and that's a determination you have to make yourself. Some people are okay with that, some people aren't.
The other thing that I noticed about those types of communities is that the HOA dues are quite high because they have a lot of resort-style amenities.
Right, and they'll oftentimes take care of their yard or your yard maintenance because they're kind of planning for you not to be there. So someone needs to mow the grass.
Right. So the HOA dues can be high, but you do have a lot of amenities in the community. A lot of them cater to tourists, and maybe that's not for you. Maybe it is for you. But there's like pools and golf courses and miniature golf and all kinds of stuff I've seen in those communities.
Yep.
We went to a vacation home that was a dinosaur-themed vacation home. I think it was 9 or 10 bedrooms.
Yep.
And it had a pool and a hot tub, and there was like were like puzzles and things.
Was that right in Champions Gate?
Yes.
Yeah. Yep. I know where you're talking about.
Like there were puzzles and things to solve, almost like an escape room, but you weren't escaping. You were like finding. You were living and finding secret rooms and stuff. But I mean, those can be fun. I'm not knocking vacation homes at all, because that was a great one. And if you have a bigger family or whatever and you want to come, it's super economical if you can fill it up with enough people to take advantage of the number of bedrooms.
Yep.
But the question is, do you want to buy a house in that sort of community? Maybe not.
Yeah, and to make a point, it's very neighborhood specific too. Like you'll have one that's geared towards short-term rentals or vacation ownership, whereas the next one over might not be. Like it won't have amenities and it will have a lower HOA fee.
Right.
So it's not like, I don't want to blanket all of Champions Gate, but there are definitely certain neighborhoods that are geared more towards that.
Yes. And I think that like the vacation home rental thing is kind of a more recent happening in the last, what would you say, like 10 or 15 years, maybe?
Probably 15.
Right, but there's certainly communities in Champions Gate that are older than that were never built or designed to be vacation rentals. So you could certainly find them there. But I think in terms of, it is a really great area in terms of the amenities, the shopping. It's also easy to get to Tampa.
Yep.
Because you're almost a third of the way to Tampa at this point. So if you have, maybe not a third of the way.
It's Lakeland's about halfway, so it's probably, if you're in Davenport, I'd say an hour to downtown Tampa.
Right, which isn't too bad. And if you're the kind of person that is looking for something that's a little further outside of Orlando and access to, the beaches or whatever, right? Like you can go to Clearwater, really pretty. I spent a week in Clearwater last year.
Yeah.
And so if you're looking for things to do that are, not necessarily Disney or theme park oriented, Tampa has a lot to offer.
I've had a couple buyers where the one person works in Orlando, or one person works at Disney, and one person works in Tampa, and a lot of them have landed in Davenport or a little south of Davenport.
It makes sense. It makes sense. Absolutely. And then you can go from Davenport. I mean, you can go south to Haines City. I know Haines City. I've known some people that have lived in Haines City as well, and there you're getting down. So you can sort of see on this map, Davenport and Champions Gate. There's not a lot of water features, but once you get down a little further.
Oh, for like boating or something.
Yeah, there's loads of lakes around Winter Haven. You've also got Cypress Gardens is on this map, which is now Legoland.
Yep.
And Peppa Pig theme park.
Yep.
So that's down there too, depending on if you have little ones that might like that better than a Disney park, or at least something else to do or something cheaper to do.
And I'd say the price point drops off pretty decently once you move away from Davenport, because Davenport's kind of the last portion that's incorporated in Orlando, I would say. Like if you think of Davenport, you think of Orlando.
Orlando suburbs.
But if you move past that into Haines City or
those are really
Auburndale,
like Lakeland suburbs.
Yeah, that feels more like Lakeland. So
Yeah.
that price point is going to be a little bit lower too
Then it
for
drops
anyone
even
that's
further.
looking for a little bit more affordability.
The other secret that I will give to our viewers is that there's an antique mall in Lakeland called, aptly enough, the Lakeland Antique Mall, which you can always find cool Disney stuff at. And
Lakeland is, a lot of people sleep on Lakeland. It's a cool spot. My brother went to college there, and that was kind of my first experience going over there. And the downtown area is really, I mean, it's not huge, but it's got a good feel to it. There's some cool restaurants there. Yeah,
it's a bigger city than I think people expect.
Yeah.
It's definitely, like, you look at the metropolitan area of Lakeland, and I mean, it's obviously not as big as Orlando, but it's the biggest town in between Orlando and Tampa for sure.
Yeah, downtown Lakeland's pretty cool. That'd be cool to do a video on that one day.
We could go on the road.
Yeah.
Speaking of on the road, I know Tom's parents are coming down the first week in May.
Ooh.
So we may do some on the road house hunting with them.
Let's do it.
In a couple months. That should be fun.
Yeah.
Let's see. What other attractive features of Davenport would you say attract people to that?
I think there's a winery there. I can't remember the name. I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but there is a little winery over there. I have been to it just once, I think. But a lot of this area is mostly just residential and shopping. I don't know if there's too many other kind of hot places to visit around here other than maybe those two things.
Okay.
And I know there's the Van Fleet Trail. That's a little to the west. I don't know if you'll be able to see it on the map where we're at. But that's a great place for biking or cycling, too, if anyone's interested in that. There's a lot of Ironman trainers that do that, and it's just a straight shot north to Clermont.
Okay.
So there's no turns or anything.
Okay.
Yeah. But that's all I can think of off the top of my head.
Okay.
Anything you know about?
Other than the traffic, I mean, that's the thing that I sort of experience every day. I don't drive in it. I just see it.
Yeah.
And I see all of the people that are lined up to get onto I-4, and they're pretty much stopped dead in their tracks. So that, I mean, to me, that's the biggest thing. If you don't have to commute, then you don't have to worry about traffic.
Yeah.
It's great. If you have to commute, it's a whole different equation to think about what times you need to commute. If you have a job that is sort of not the typical rush hour drives, then you'd probably be okay too.
Yeah, but that's also anywhere in Orlando too. You know what I mean? Like I was late coming here today because I had to get gas, and I stopped in like Sand Lake area, and I was like probably 20 minutes late because the traffic was so bad.
Yeah,
and that's a completely different area than Davenport.
That's true. That's absolutely true. But I think one of the definite things that, as we talked a little bit about, that attracts people down this area is you're a little further from the city of Orlando. So prices are also cheaper down there, but it's still close enough to get to Disney and not have an hour-long drive when you're trying to head home from the Magic Kingdom at 11 p.m. or something.
Yep.
So I think there's a balance between the price and the location that certainly favors the price down in Davenport versus something like Windermere or Winter Garden that you're paying more because you're getting a closer
for
location.
The area. Yep.
Yep.
Well, yeah, that's all I got.
All right. Well, that's our episode about Davenport / Champions Gate / Reunion / whatever else down
Haines
here.
City a little bit.
Maybe a little bit of Haines City. So I think next week we'll talk about Clermont.
Yeah.
Because that's right up 27, and that's also a
kind of like the sister city or just
right
the next door neighbor. Yep.
Yes, and it's also. Do you think Clermont's cheaper than Davenport?
No.
No. Mm-mm. That's surprising. I would have thought it was a little cheaper.
We'll talk about it more in the next episode, but it's a little more. It's got hills, it's got lakes, it's more scenic, so people pay more to be there.
Okay, but you get bigger lots.
Depending, yeah.
You can if you want a bigger lot. And I know we talked about this on the previous episode too about basements. So Clermont's probably one of the only
they
places
have basements.
That
yeah,
you can get
they
a house
do.
with a basement.
Not like maybe I've probably only shown maybe five to 10 homes that have a basement, but I was shocked.
Exist.
Yeah, as a Orlando native, I was shocked to see homes with basements when I first started exploring or showing homes in Clermont.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, so stay tuned for next week. We'll talk about Clermont, and then probably in 2 weeks after that, we will talk about. We've had a request to talk about school districts. So I think maybe the episode after Clermont will talk about school districts and the school districts that are around here, and a little bit about that kind of stuff for people that might be a serious and significant factor in their choice of location.
Yeah. And if you're interested in reaching out if you're looking to move to the Orlando area, feel free to email me at eric@magicalmoves.com.
There you go. So Eric can answer all your questions about Davenport and Champions Gate, and he'll be happy to show you some homes if you're looking. So hit him up, eric@magicalmoves.com. And in the meantime, we will see you next week. Bye-bye.
Thanks.